Karibu tena katika mwendelezo wa vipindi vyetu vya masomo ya sayansi, hisabati kwa msingi na sekondari. Lakini kwa leo tunataka tuangalie kitu kingine ambacho ni muhimu zaidi. Lakini kabla ya kusema hicho, kama wewe ni mwanafunzi na unahitaji videos za masomo ya sayansi, especially physics, chemistry na mathematics, tunakukaribisha wasiliana nasi kupitia namba zetu za WhatsApp ambazo huwa ziko katika kila video, ambao unaweza ukatureach out sisi tukakutumia links za video ambazo zinahusiana na hayo masomo. Sasa leo tunataka kuangalia how we can determine the refractive index of the triangular prism. Sasa most of the students confuse and give the difference that the refractive index of the triangular prism should be different from that of glass. Remember, a triangular prism is the man of the glass, so it cannot be different from those other glasses. So in short, we say the refractive index of the glass, that is triangular prism, is 1.5. So the issue here is how to determine the refractive index of the triangular prism. That's what we are going to discuss about this short video. So you have to be very careful. From the experiments, I explained the deep about how we can obtain those kinds of the angles that I've drawn in here. Kwa hiyo ukiangalia katika experiment yangu nilionyesha vizuri sana namna gani hapo unaweza ukaonesha engo, unaipimaje hiyo engo na unaipataje hii hapa engo na unaipataje hii hapa engo. Hizi engo ambazo kwa ujumla ambazo nimeziandika hapa, kwa ujumla tuliziongelea vizuri sana. Lakini so far we don't have the limits that we can no longer talk about how we can obtain this one. When you look at this triangular prism right here, this is the normal ray. This is the normal ray. And I've showed you how we can. I have shown you how we can determine this a normal ray and this normal ray practically. But theoretically here we can discuss the angle that is existing between the normal and incident ray. We call it incident angle. Here it is. And the angle that is existing between the normal and the refracted ray, that is called the angle of refraction. So from this one, because we have two surface, reflecting surface, kwenye hii triangular prism tunakuwa na two reflecting surface. Maana yake tuna expect kuwa na vitu viwili sehemu mbili. Maana yake vitu viwili tofauti lakini sehemu mbili. Hapa kwenye hii refracting surface tunakuwa na angle of refraction na incidence angle. Na kwenye hii refracting surface tunakuwa na incidence angle na angle of refraction. Lakini kwa ujumla wake zote so far zina majina yake kidogo tofauti. Kwa mfano, this is an incidence ray, incidence angle ambao niandika I naught. And this is the angle of refraction ambao nimeandika R0. Alafu hapa ni incidence angle because it is this hii hapa. Sasa kwa nini hapa tunaita incidence angle? Kwa sababu ikishaingia hii umware, when the ray enters the glass, it is no longer the refracted ray. When you are considering about this reflecting surface, it is no longer the refracted ray. It becomes an incident ray for this refracting surface. That is the point. It is called incident ray right here if now you are just talking about the first refracting surface. And here, if now are just talking about the second refracting surface, this is called an incident ray. It is no longer a refracted ray. So this is an incident ray and this is the refracted ray. So this is what we are talking about here. Kwa ukiangalia kwa ujumla, ukiwa unazungumzia refracting surface hii hapa inakuwa incident ray. Ukiwa unazungumzia refracting surface hii hapa ndio incident ray, alafu hapa inakuwa refracted ray. Sasa the angle between the incident ray and the refracted, I mean the normal, this is the incident angle. And the angle between the normal and the refracted ray, it is called angle of refraction. Here it is. For this one, this becomes an incident ray. And that is why we have the angle between the incident ray and the normal, it is called incidence. But this is the second incidence. That is why I've written this is 0, this is 1. That is not, this is 1. And this is the angle between the refracted ray and the normal. That is the angle of refraction. But in this case, it is called emergence. Emergence. It is called emergent ray. It is called emergent ray. And it is called angle, emergent angle. That is what I've explained. Kwa hiyo, when you draw this line, kwa sababu imedivert, imagine it would have not diverted. Tulitegemea ingenyoka kwenda hivi. Na imagine hii hapa it would have not diverted. Tulitegemea ingenyoka hivi. Sasa the point of intersection that is happening between this emergent ray when it is drawn straight throughout the glass and this instant ray from the first reflecting surface when it is drawn throughout the glass, that angle it is called the angle of diversion. Kwa hiyo utaangalia kwenye theory za kwanza ambazo nimeexplain, nimeelezea vizuri zaidi. Lakini sasa hapa tunataka kuongelea minimum angle of diversion ambao na yenyewe diversion ambao na yenyewe nimeizungumzia vizuri zaidi. Kwamba kama tunazungumzia deviation, minimum angle of deviation, tuna maana gani? We say for the minimum angle of deviation, it is just like a special angle. It's just like what we learned when we are just talking about critical angle. Kama unazungumzia critical angle, tulisema ni special angle ambayo inatokea so that the angle of refraction is 90 degree. Hiyo ndo tulisema critical angle. Lakini na hapa tuna special angle ambayo sasa inasababisha hii line ambayo ni refracted ray inakuwa parallel to the base. Hii hapa ndo base yetu. Maana yake tunaposema this line which is the base of the triangle is parallel to this one. If you find the angle that is formed here, call this line to be parallel to the base. That angle is called the minimum. The angle of deviation that is formed inakuwa inaitwa minimum angle of deviation. Because it is so called minimum angle of deviation if only you have the special angle that causes the refracted ray to be parallel with the base. Kwa ikishakuwa hii hapa parallel na hii base ikishakuwa parallel na hii hapa. Na ili udhibitishe kwamba ni parallel, pima tu urefu wa kutoka hapa mpaka hapa ni sawa na urefu wa kutoka hapa mpaka hapa, ni sawa na urefu wa kutoka hapa mpaka hapa, ni sawa na urefu wa kutoka hapa mpaka hapa. Kwa sababu tunaposema these lines are parallel, maana yake distance apart, hakuna tofauti, zinafanana. Ndio maana tunasema nini? Ni parallel. For the distance from here up to here, the distance from here up to here, a distance from here up to here are equal. Hiyo ndo tunaita a minimum angle of deviation, inaweza ikawa formed kwa principle hizo. Kama hakuna principle hiyo, maana yake hii line refracted ray is not parallel to the base, that cannot form what we call it a minimum angle of deviation. Because the minimum angle of deviation is only obtained if only the special angle of instance causes the refracted ray to be parallel to the base of the triangular prism. This is the base of a triangular prism. And that is the only principle. Na kwa principle hiyo sasa kwenye minimum angle of deviation ndio anazaliwa mambo ambayo sasa tunaenda explain. So that was on how we can explain those angles. But the intention of learning this one is all about to determine refractive index of the triangular prism. How can we determine the refractive index of the triangular prism? That is the concept that we are going to discuss. But that was an introduction on how we can know emergent angle, first angle, and so forth. Now, the most important case that we are just going to discuss here is how to determine the refractive index of the triangular prism. Remember, this is a glass, and it is refractive index must be 1.5. But this can be determined experimentally, and this can be determined by using what we call it mathematically. Look at this one. We learned from angle of deviation. When I was explaining about angle of deviation, we formed this equation. Angle of deviation is equal to the instance angle right here, plus the angle of refraction on the second refracting surface. So in other words, we can say angle of deviation is equal to the instance angle plus the emergence angle, then minus the angle of prism. The angle prism is the angle between the two reflecting surfaces. This is the angle between the two reflecting surface. Kwa hii ina depends which kind of the triangular prism unazungumzia. Unaweza ukawa unazungumzia right angled triangular prism, au unaweza ukazungumzia equilateral triangular prism. Lakini so far kama sisi tunazungumzia equilateral, na maana utamesha. What matters the angle that is existing between two reflecting surfaces, it is called an angle prism, that is A. Kwa hii A ni kuchora tu outlines za ile triangular prism yako, halafu utapima. Kwa maana hiyo, ili tuweze kupata kitu ambacho kinaitwa angle of deviation, lazima tuchukue instant angle, halafu tuchukue emergent angle, halafu tu subtract hii hapa angle of prism. Hiyo ni point ya msingi sana. So this is how we can obtain the angle of deviation, and that is what we learned. And I explains, nilielezea vizuri mpaka kufika hapa. Kama unahitaji unaweza ukalifaa kwenye video zetu za nyuma, unaweza ukaangalia. Kwa hiyo ukiangalia hapa, tutakuwa na angle of deviation is equal to the instant angle for the first reflecting surface plus emergent angle or angle of refraction to the second refracting surface. In other words, it is called emergent angle. And then minus angle of prism, that is A. Remember, we learned about, mathematically we said, angle prism should be equal to R0 plus I1, means is equal now to the angle of refraction. Angle of refraction of the first refracting surface plus instant angle of the second refracting surface. Here it is. Mathematically means we have obtained the value of A. Here it is. If now we take this one and we substitute it here, it becomes this equation. So this is the angle of deviation is equal to instant angle plus R1 minus R0 plus I1. So this is what we call it. This was angle of prism. Hii yote ilikuwa ni angle of prism. Sasa nimejitahidi kuisum up, maana yake nimesubstitute the value of angle of prism hapa hivi, nikaandika hii hapa. Sasa this is the equation that I have obtained after I have substituted what we call it angle of prism. Instead of writing angle of prism, I have written this one. Then what next? Baada ya hapo, angalia concept ambayo nimeisema. Tunaposema for minimum angle of deviation, what happens? Ikiwa minimum angle of deviation, tumesema hii hapa inakuwa parallel. Na inapokuwa hii parallel, inazalisha mambo mawili. Cha kwanza, instant angle inakuwa na angle of refraction ya hii huko. Maana yake kifupi ni kwamba the instant angle is equal to emergent angle for the minimum angle of deviation. Hii ndo point ya msingi, kwamba pembe hii inakuwa sawa na pembe hii. Ukiziangalia hata kwa kutazama hapa zinaonekana kama vile zinafanana, lakini hata practical ukienda kufanya, kama utaikuta hii iko parallel na hii hapa, maana yake hiyo ni minimum angle of deviation. Na tafsiri yake ni kwamba the instant angle ni sawa na emergent angle. Hii hapa ni point ya msingi ambayo inapatikana baada ya kuwa umetengeneza minimum angle of deviation. Lakini the second thing that you have to consider hapa ni kwamba hii hapa ambayo ni R0 is equal to I1, means the angle of refraction ambayo ni first hii hapa ni sawasawa na instant angle ambayo ni hii hapa. Kwa nini inatokea hivyo? Kwa sababu itazaa kitu ambacho hii ni sawa na hii. Kwa hizi hapa zitakuwa ni pembe zenye kufanana, kwa sababu ukianza hapa ni 90 na ukija hapa ni 90. Ukianza kufuatilia vizuri hapa na penye huku utapata 90. Hii hapa yote 90. Sasa ili upate hii hapa, maana yake utatoa hii hapa utapata hii hapa. Zote sasa maana yake ndio maana sasa inatengeneza equilateral triangle. Inatengeneza isosceles triangle. Inatengeneza isosceles triangle. So that is why we say this angle should be equal to this angle, because of this isosceles triangle. We explained for the first principle that when we were explaining namna gani tunaweza kupata hii hapa. Lakini hata hapa ni rahisi tunaweza ukaexplain. Maana yake ni kwamba sasa for the minimum angle of deviation kinachotokea ni hiki hapa. Kwamba hii hapa ni sawa I0 sawa sawa na R1 na R0 sawa sawa na I1. Kwa hiyo hapa pointi ni za muhimu sana. Sasa kwa sheria hiyo sasa ni rahisi tu kusema kwamba sasa kama nimesema hii, nikija kwenye equation yangu ambayo ni hii hapa, maana yake sasa nasema hivi, palipo na R1 mimi naweka I hii hapa instance angle I0 hapa, I0 nitaiweka hapa, na palipo na I1 nitaweka R0 hapa, na ndipo sasa inaonekana hivi. Kwa hapa itakuwa ni I0 plus I0 minus R0 plus R0 means the instance angle plus the instance angle for the first refracting surface minus the angle of refraction plus the angle of refraction of the first refracting surface, you add them. Sasa hapa ni hesabu tu ya kawaida mpendwa, wala haikupasi kukupa wall. Maana yake ni kwamba sasa nimesema nimetumia principle hii hapa, hapa nimeingiza hapa ili niondoe hii hapa niweke hii hapa. Halafu nimetumia hii hapa, hapa nimeondoa hii hapa. Niweke hii hapa badala ya huyo hapa. Na siweki tu badala ya hivyo without using any principle. Nimetumia principle ambayo ni hii hapa. This is very important topic that you have to understand. Sasa by doing that principle, kwa kufuata hiyo by following that principle, nitajikuta these are like terms and these are like terms. Kwa hapa itakuwa ni 2I0 na hii hapa ni 2R0, ambapo sasa nitatengeneza kitu hiki hapa kwa sababu this is the common factor. This is the common, 2 is the common factor, then it is taken out, then this one and this one, here it is. Kwa hii hapa, baada ya kufika kwenye principle hii hapa, lengo langu ni ku make the subject hii hapa I0. Making the subject of this one, that is very clear and you can even explain in a simple way. Making the subject of this one means we have to divide by 2 both sides. That is what I did it here. Then this is taken to the other side and then it was negative. Now it becomes what? Positive. Therefore, I0, that is instant angle, is equal to the minimum angle of deviation divided by 2 plus angle of refraction. Here it is. But my intention, and why do I invest on this one? I am not interested on this one. Why is it so? Because from the experiment, what you should be given is not the angle of refraction. You'll be given the instance angle. So you'll be using the instance angle instead of the angle of refraction, because you cannot find the instance angle in absence of the, you cannot find the angle of refraction in absence of the what we call it instance angle. So there must be an instance angle. So that is why this is not complete. So where are we going to complete this one? Let us keep on moving and understanding the principle. Kwa ukiangalia hapa principle hii hapa tunakomea hapa. Tunarudi kwenye principle nyingine ambayo ni hii hapa. A is equal to R0 plus I1 this one. Sasa remember concept iliyokuwepo nayo hapa. Concept ambayo ninayo hapa ni kwamba A sawa sawa na R0 plus I1. This is what I have. But remember, we have to remember something. If now we are just talking about minimum angle of deviation, tumesema ni kwamba I1 is equal to R0. Therefore, this simply can be substituted it here. Instead of writing this one, we have to write this one. And that is why I have written this one. Then mathematically, these are like terms. That is 2R0. This is what I've written here. Now, if that is the point T, collect the like terms, you get this one. That is why making the subject of R0. So means that we are looking for the angle of refraction, because we are not interested in it because we cannot find the angle of refraction in absence of an instance angle. If that is the case now, we have to use this case. Simply, we have this one. Hii hapa, this is 2, this one, over 2. Kwa tayari tunapata hii hapa, this is the angle of refraction. So this is the angle of refraction and this is an instance angle. But remember, we have to note this one. We are not interested, as I said earlier. This is not our interest. Our interest is to have only instance angle separately with the angle of refraction. So what we have to do, we have said angle of refraction, it is A over 2. So instead of writing angle of refraction, we say it is A over 2. That is why I've said from also, the instant angle is equal to this one. But remember, this is equal to A over 2. That is why we can come to conclude by saying that instant angle is equal to minimum angle of deviation divided by 2, then plus angle of prism divided by 2. So it is possible to get the instance angle if it is given with the minimum angle of deviation. But remember this point. Hizi point ni muhimu sana kama tutazikumbuka vizuri, ni kwamba tunaweza tukatumia expression hii kupata either we are looking for the angle of prism, either we are looking for the minimum angle of deviation, either we are looking for the angle of instance in presence of the rest of the factors that are there. Whether you are looking for the instance angle in presence of the angle of deviation, minimum angle of deviation, and angle of prism, you can determine the angle of instance. Or you can determine the minimum angle of deviation in presence of the angle of prism and the what we about to write up instance angle. And that is possible. Imagine now you have angle of prism and you have instant angle of 30 degree. You can determine instant angle of 30 degree, but also you have angle prism of, let's say angle prism is 60. You can determine mathematically because you have here 60, you have here 30. Then what is absent is minimum angle of deviation, which is very simple and you can explain by using mathematical concept. That is what definitely we are looking for. So by using this equation, we can determine whatever we've been asking. And by using this expression, we can determine. So in short, we can explain for the minimum angle of deviation, we can determine angle of prism or angle of refraction by using this concept. That is why so far some of the students can even forge. Instead of doing the experiment, they can even identify the angle of prism and whatever the case, the angle of refraction. That is so simple. Why is it so? They can use this formula. This is the formula they can use to determine the angle of refraction. Because they have angle prism. What they can do, wanachukua tu ile triangular prism, halafu wanaipima, wanapima ile angle prism hapa, halafu wanapachika, watajaza angle prism ikiwa hivi, hii hapa inakuwa hivi. That is only for the minimum angle of deviation. Usije ukakosea kuchanganya mambo. Ukichanganya mambo imekula kako mpendwa. Then sasa we have instant angle and we have angle of refraction. We have angle of refraction and we have instant angle. Then from Snell's law, we know refractive index is equal to sine I over sine R, sine I over sine R. Remember this is the concept and we learned it in refraction. Refraction of lights. This is refractive index is equal to sine I over sine R. But here we are just talking about sine of instant angle of the first refracting surface and the angle of refraction of the first refracting surface. And that is what we are considering here. Sasa hii hapa tayari ni hii hapa. Then hii hapa tayari ni hii hapa. Then we substitute. So this is how now we can determine the refractive index of the what we call it of a glass. We should have a minimum angle of deviation and we should have angle of prism, but also we should have what we call it angle of prism. This is how we can determine. Mathematically, it's so simple for us to determine refractive index of the glass. So far, what I've explained here is all about how we can determine the refractive index by using mathematical concept and by using practical concept. For the learning video that I've explained, you can understand kwa sababu kuna video ambayo nime-explain vizuri kabisa kwa vitendo ambayo ni practical video. If now you want it, unaweza ukaongea ukanitumia message kupitia kwenye WhatsApp link, kwenye WhatsApp namba yangu, ni tukazungumza tukakubaliana, nikakutumia link ya practical ya triangular prism ambayo it is simple and I've explained. Na hapa point ya msingi ambayo unatakiwa kuijua ni vile mathematical concept ambazo nimekupitisha ambazo zinaweza zikakusaidia. Kwa hiyo kwa conclude, unapozungumzia minimum angle of deviation, kuna mambo mengi sana ambayo yanaweza yakajitokeza kukusaidia. Maana yake unaweza ukatafuta angle of refraction kwa kuwa tuna angular angle ambayo ni angle of prism A over 2. Maana yake ni kwamba angular prism ni mara mbili ya angle of refraction ikiwa inatengeneza minimum angle of deviation. Lakini vile vile unaweza ukatafuta instant angle. Unaweza ukatafuta angle minimum angle of deviation au angular prism ni angle of angular prism au tunaita prism angle. Hii hapa. Maana yake unaweza ukaipata kwa kutumia tu mathematical concept ikiwa kimoja wapo umepewa. Kwa mfano, umepewa hii hapa na umepewa hii hapa, umeambiwa utafute minimum angle of deviation au umeambiwa utafute utafute angular angle hii hapa ambao ni prism angle ambao ni hii hapa. Ambao na yenyewe na kwani tunaita prism angle kwa sababu ni angle inayotoka kwenye prism yenyewe ambao tunaipima exact tu hapa, tunaipima na kuipata. This is all about triangular prism on how we can determine the refractive index of the glass. This is the glass. Eventually we find it is 1.5 or 1.48 and so forth. Approximately as 1.5. So this is how we can determine. Now, thank you for watching our learning video. You are welcome.